everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Going Mad. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Cailey.
And today we're talking about haunted mines.
Woo.
Last week was a pretty heavy episode. All the deaths and everything.
Yeah,
so,
I was pretty, down the rest of the day.
Yeah, I was down. I was sad. So hopefully today we're giving you a little less troubling topic.
Maybe not.
I have 2 haunted mines, and Cailey has a haunted mine and a haunted house built by a mine investor.
Yeah.
As always, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you have a story to tell us or a topic you want us to cover, email us at goingmadpod@gmail.com, or you can message us on Facebook or Instagram. So let's begin.
Okay. So the first story that I'm going to tell is about the Matchless Mine in Leadville, Colorado. I have actually been there. I toured the mine. You can't really tour the mine, but you tour the grounds of the mine, and then you do a tour of the cabin that sits on the mine's property. So I'm going to be telling that story. So let's get into it. So Leadville was first kind of settled in 1859 during the big, mad gold rush. It was it's always been kind of known as a little mining town. The 2 main things that were found in Leadville were obviously lead and silver. And so the town was founded by Horace Tabor. I don't know if it's Tabor or Tabor. I'm going to say Tabor because
okay.
I don't know. But it was founded by Horace Tabor and August Meyer. When the town was first started, it was just tents, it was just actual miners that were there. And then, it just kind of quickly developed as kind of the silver boom of Colorado happened. So Tabor had a store in Leadville, and he actually kind of helped develop the post office. So he was married to a woman, Augusta Tabor. And sadly, they ended up getting divorced. And then he married the lovely Baby Doe McCourt. And she was half his age.
Oh.
Fun fact, she was quite a bit younger. Which actually caused kind of a little bit of scandal, because at the time, Tabor was actually a U.S. senator. Oh. And divorce, back in the 1850s and 1800s was just kind of
uncommon.
You didn't get divorced.
Yeah.
And if you did, then you sucked. So, so he, like I said, got divorced from Augusta, and then he married Tabor, who, like I said, was, half his age. And it was just, people were like, oh my God, this is crazy. What a scandal. So Tabor and Baby Doe ended up moving to Denver and lived in a mansion in Denver. But in 1893, shit went south.
Oh, no.
They lost all their money. So
Sucks.
they were no longer rich. And that happened because of the Panic of 1893 and the repeal of the Sherman Silver Purchase Act. So the act basically increased the amount of silver that the government had to buy, and when it repealed the act, the cost of silver went down pretty substantially. In 1890, it was about $1.16 an ounce, and just 4 years later, it was 60 cents an ounce.
Wow.
So it kind of messed stuff up. So unfortunately, during that time, Horace died. So he ended up dying, as a poor man instead of the rich man that he was. And literally until the day he died, he always believed that silver would have this massive comeback. And so when he was dying, he told Baby Doe, hey, don't get rid of that mine. Keep that mine, because I can guarantee silver will come back. So that's what she did. She kept the mine, and eventually she ended up leaving Denver and going up and living in the cabin that is currently still on the property of the mine. Some say she left Denver because she was embarrassed and she was kind of shunned. They had all this money, and then all of a sudden they had none. And so she was just like, okay, I'm going to live in the middle of nowhere in Leadville, Colorado. And the other thing that people say too is like she was so, because of the scandal of him leaving his wife for this younger woman, like people were just like, oh, she's kind of a trollop. So they
a trollop.
Yeah. So they just kind of shunned her a little bit. So it was kind of said that she self-shunned her, by going to Leadville and living on this mine. So Baby Doe ended up moving back to Leadville, like I said, after her husband died, and they had 2 daughters, and so her 2 daughters went with her. Her daughters' names were, get this, Silver Dollar.
Oh no.
And Lily.
Oh, well, that's a big difference.
I'm like, Silver Dollar, huh? Quite
is that her
name.
first name, or is like Dollar her middle name?
I don't know. I'm guessing she's like a double name. Like Silver Dollar is her full name.
Oh.
Because she is, throughout my research, she was always referred to as Silver Dollar. Like it wasn't just silver, So anywho, Baby Doe constantly, she thought that her husband was right. That Silver was going to make a comeback and they would get their freaking money. But never happened. She actually ended up dying in the cabin in 1935 at the age of 81. They don't know how she died. I've found reports of it was a heart attack, and some say she froze to death.
Oh.
Like, they found her body frozen. We do know that. She was frozen.
Wow.
But I couldn't find anything that definitively said, like, this is how she died. So let's get into more of kind of the mine stuff. So the Matchless Mine was purchased by Horace, and then, like I said, when he died, he gave it to Baby Doe. Baby Doe tried to bring the mine back for about 2 years, but she just couldn't do it. She just, she just could not get it running again. And it was even said that she would run the mine by herself.
Wow.
That's how, determined she was. It was, they said that the mine was actually pretty bad condition. I don't know if it was just because, Leadville's kind of remote, and I'm guessing in the 1850s, they really didn't have much as far as,
especially doing it by yourself.
Right. Well, she had her 2 daughters there, but I couldn't find anything that said whether her daughters helped her or not.
Yeah.
And I'll get into that in a little bit, but... so the mine was just in really bad condition, and she ended up having to sell, a lot of her valuable, jewelry and just some of her stuff so that she could keep afloat. And I did read somewhere that she actually had a part-time job in towns just so that she could, keep the mine going. The one thing that she refused to sell, though, was a piece of Horace's jewelry. I guess you could call it jewelry. It's like a clock, like a watch thing.
Mm-hmm.
So after she moved her daughter, see, here we go. It's already started. After she moved her family to the mine, her daughter Lily ended up leaving and moving to Wisconsin. So Baby Doe is from Wisconsin, or just kind of the Midwest in general. And so she had family out there. And so Lily went out there to visit her family, but then just kind of decided, hey, I'm just going to stay here. I'm just not going to go back. And so she ended up, she was kind of really upset about the fact that they had basically lost all of their money. She seemed to be super affected by it. And so that's kind of why she took herself out of it. She was just like, I don't want to live this life anymore. So she ended up actually moving to Chicago after she lived in Wisconsin, and she married her cousin.
Oh.
And they had a baby. And there was one time that Baby Doe and Silver Dollar came out to visit them, and Lily was like, I don't even know who these people are anymore.
Ouch.
And even after Baby Doe died, Lily denied being Baby Doe's daughter.
Aw, that's sad.
She just was not about the family, unfortunately. So Silver Dollar also left Leadville, and she actually kind of became an alcoholic, and she was known to get around town, man. She was she was an open door.
Oops.
You know what I mean.
Live your life.
Trollop. She took after her mom and became a trollop. Not really. Just kidding. Baby Doe, if you're listening.
You're listening.
You are not a trollop. So she left, and she was just kind of not in a good place. So Baby Doe ended up sending her to Denver, where she became a writer for the Denver Times. She would send Baby Doe money pretty often. They said about weekly. And she tried to become a novelist, but she just kind of had a really bad reputation due to her drinking. And just kind of the things she would do when she was drunk. So they were like, nah, lady. Not today. So she actually ended up moving to Denver. She did move to Denver, but she also moved to Chicago, and became a dancer, and she was also a mistress to a gangsta. She would go by different names. Like, she never truly went by Silver Dollar once she left. Understandably. I wouldn't want to go by that, but hey. Good on her for doing it as long as she did. And so she, like I said, went by many names. She was actually found dead in 1925 after being scalded to death.
Oh my gosh.
In a Chicago boarding house. There was kind of like, she was murdered.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, dun dun dun. Just the surround, like the details of her death were very suspicious. So they were like, we think it's the mob. So anywho, at the time, she was known as Ruth Norman, not Silver Dollar. And Baby Doe basically refused to acknowledge that was her daughter.
Ah.
Yeah, she's like, nope, that wasn't my daughter. My daughter's still alive somewhere. But they're pretty positive it was her. So around this time, Baby Doe goes a little cray-cray. She goes a little nuts. Loses her marbles, as people say. She was known to kind of wander the streets, or should I say street, of Leadville, wearing kind of a mixture of men's and women's clothing. And like, she was kind of a mess. Understandably though, I mean, going through everything that she had kind of gone through, I would probably go a little crazy too.
Yeah.
I'm already a little crazy, so there's no hope. So she, started going crazy, would walk around town. She would be known to be very protective over her mine, and she would guard it with a shotgun.
Oh.
Yeah. And so people would say she became a sad specter of Baby Doe to old-timers, a spectacle to the young, end quote. So like I said, she died in 1935 during a really severe snowstorm. And the only reason they actually found out that she was dead was because people noticed that there was no longer smoke coming out of her chimney.
Oh, yeah.
So, there were no fires. And so a miner and one of her friends actually broke into her house to find her body on the floor. And like I said, she was frozen. So she actually was kind of, let's take a sidestep here. She was actually kind of compared to, like, her life was compared to Molly Brown, and I don't know if you know who Molly Brown is.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, lady. So Molly Brown was also she was the wife of a very rich man who made his money off of mining. Molly Brown, if you've ever seen the movie Titanic, you should know who Molly Brown is.
Whoops.
She's the unsinkable Molly Brown. So she, she was like one of the first class patrons of the I don't know, guests. she was in first class on the Titanic when it sunk.
Okay.
And she survived it, and I believe she actually survived another ship sinking. But anywho, Molly Brown lived in Leadville also, so that's kind of crazy that these two women, are very well known, and they both lived in Leadville. So she was known, like I said, in the industry because her husband became really well known for his mining engineering efforts. His efforts became instrumental in the production of an ore seam in the Little Johnny mine, which was also in Leadville. And so just kind of, they used to compare the two. So anywho, let's get to the interesting stuff, the haunting stuff.
Ooh.
So it's said that Baby Doe haunts the mine and the cabin. So, and like I said, I've been there. We've taken some pictures. We got some weird stuff. And just in the cabin specifically, I believe. But yeah, a lot of people report, pictures, like orbs or, just weird stuff. And so inside the cabin, there's a picture of Baby Doe right next to a picture of Augusta, which was Horace's first wife.
Oh.
And so the caretaker who, takes care of that, it's kind of like a museum now. She actually lives on the campus of the mine. Like, she lives right there. And so she would there was one day that she went in there, and she said that the pictures were found to be skewed.
Oh.
It's also said that there have been a few men that have tried sitting in there's like a little chair. I can't remember if it's a rocking chair or if it's just a normal chair, but they're in the cabin. And so men have said that they would try and sit in the chair, but when they went to sit down, it felt like there was someone sitting in the chair.
Ew,
even though
creepy.
there was no one sitting there, but it felt like there was. So because of that, the caretaker actually ended up putting up a sign that says, "Do not sit on me." And then, let me look. There are also reports of lights going on and off in the cabin, even though the light bulbs have been unscrewed. So riddle me that one, Batman. Like I said, the caretaker and her husband actually live on the property, and they've also reported that they can hear like bells and metal hitting rock, and sometimes like a steam engine firing up, all coming from the mine. So, the people are still working the mine today. And that's it. That's the awesome story of Baby Doe and the matchless mine in Leadville, Colorado.
Okay. Am I going next?
You're up!
Okay. I will be discussing the Vulture Mine in Vulture City, Arizona, and its surrounding ghost town. It all started when Henry Wixenberg discovered gold there in 1863, and also silver was found there. In 1866, the Vulture City was built for all the miners and their families. It has been reported that about 5,000 residents live there, and that's kind of big, because, that's...
Yeah, that's the size of where you live.
I know, and I'm thinking, wow, that's, and just think, their, main job was all miners. That just kind of blows my mind.
Right.
But it was a rough town. It's kind of like old western towns, like murders and thieves, stuff like that. So it was kind of rough. Eventually shut down during World War II. But in 1923, a shaft collapsed that killed 7 people.
Yikes.
Yeah, and their remains are still in, the rubble because they were never recovered.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and listen to why they never recovered them. They said they believed that they were thieves, so they just left them there.
They deserved it.
They deserved
Steal
it, basically.
From us, you deserve to never be found.
Yeah, pretty disturbing. So the town also has a hanging tree. That's where they hung people. And it still stands today.
Awesome.
A reported of at least 18 people were hung there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's messed up. By the hanging tree, though, the founder of the mine/city, Henry Wixenberg, his living quarters was built right by the hanging tree.
Sweet. So he's like, yeah, I can see those people getting hanged by my bed.
It's this thing, I guess. But this is kind of weird. It was rumored that he committed suicide by the tree. So.
Like he hanged himself from the tree?
No, it said he shot himself in the head by the tree.
Oh, so not like the tree was the way he killed himself. He killed himself.
Yeah, just sitting by it.
In proximity, like in a close proximity to the tree.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But, yeah. Okay. So the activity there includes cold spots, orbs, apparitions, They've heard whispers, voices. There's actually a schoolhouse in the ghost city, and it reports of children laughing. So that's terrifying.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and when BuzzFeed Unsolved did a little investigation there, and when they were in the schoolhouse, a door started to open on its own, and they captured that on camera. Yeah. They also captured some whispers on audio, so that's pretty creepy. You can actually visit the Vulture City today. They're like remodeled some parts of the town. And you can, but the mines are closed because it was due to them being unsafe. But you can go visit the city, the little town. You can even book a ghost hunt there.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. They have their own paranormal team. That's like how like crazy stuff happens all the time. They have their own team.
Or like they have people that are just like constantly surveying the area.
Well, I think a little bit of both. Okay. They do the own team does the ghost tours, and you can actually book a ghost lockdown tour. That's where you stay all night there.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so that's pretty spooky. But it looks like a good time. I would recommend it.
Do people live there still, or is it just kind of this ghost town?
It's just like a ghost town, and the people who own it are like I said, are like remodeling some of the old buildings and stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's why you can like go there and walk around the little parts that they remodeled, and yeah, and like I said, you can do ghost tours even, and maybe captures and stuff.
Fun.
Yeah. So that's it for that story. Do you want me to do my next story, or are you gonna go?
It's up to you.
Okay. I'll go ahead with my next story.
Okay.
So, the first site of gold in Colorado is actually in Idaho Springs. In the 1860s, and when it boomed. And this city actually grew up to 12,000 people.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but today today though, it's only reported like 1,800 people reside there. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, that makes some sense.
Yeah. So I'll be talking mainly about the Phoenix gold mine there. Deaths are explained by miners working long, hard days, and so that resulted in them making mistakes, and they actually were chipping away at the support beams.
Yikes.
So a few collapses have happened. Also, a reported death of 2 men that were shot there because they were trying to find uranium in the 1950s.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what they caught, some EVPs have been captured there. Even a perfect picture of what appears to be 2 miners with lanterns.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty cool. That picture is really cool.
Yeah.
There are ashes of at least 2 people that were buried there.
Great.
Oh, great. One of the ashes is Ray, who was actually a tour guide there.
Oh, shit.
And get this, he also said he practiced black magic in the mines.
Oh, boy. Yikes.
So that's just a mix of all kinds of stuff ready to be stirred up. You know?
Thank you.
So, Ghost Adventures investigated there. They captured a voice coming out of their spirit box, and as soon as they captured that voice, it was seen, and they captured this on video, as an orb coming out of the spirit box. So they hear the voice, and then they see the orb coming out. It was pretty intense. Let's see.
What did it say?
What did they say? I don't know. I don't remember. My bad.
Just get out of here. Black magic.
It was kind of weird. It was kind of hard to explain like what the voice was saying. But anyways, they also had a device that could map out figures, and they captured what they believed to be a teeny tiny Tommyknocker.
Yeah.
So, a little history of Tommyknockers is that, according to legend, they are like little trolls playing tricks on miners, and they also knock. Believe it or not.
And they brew really good beer.
Stephen King also wrote a book called The Tommyknocker, which I did not know that.
I think that's why the brewery started, because back in the day, side note, so sorry, back in the day, the label of like the beer and stuff were like little cartoon character. I'll have to show you a picture later. but they were super cool. And so I've seen pictures of like the Tommyknocker book, and they look pretty similar. So I think that they kind of they were inspired by the artwork of the book to market, I guess, their brewery. It's a great brewery. Shout out to Tommyknockers Brewing. Woo!
Woo! They are just. They were described, like, the way they described these is kind of disturbing. It said they're only 2 feet tall, with white whiskers, large heads, wrinkled skin, and long arms.
Sounds like me.
They are wearing little tiny miner clothes, so that's kind of cute.
They're little tiny miners.
Yeah. And Idaho Springs, the place I'm talking about, they have a Tommyknocker brewery, of course, like you just said.
Yep. It's one of my faves.
And the Phoenix mines are still doing tours today, and they have gold panning, so that's kind of cool that you can go do that.
That's kind of cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about them doing like a ghost tour, but you can go there and like visit and stuff. And
I was gonna say, I've known people to take a tour of that mine.
Yeah.
But it was like during the day, and it was just like
a regular tour. Right. I didn't see anything about like ghost tours, but it's still worth seeing. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, plus you can go get a really good beer, or you can go get a pizza. I know too much about Idaho Springs.
That's cool, though.
I know too much.
Yeah.
I go there too often.
That's okay. And that is my second story.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to stick with the Colorado theme here. Because, that's what I'm about. So as Vanessa said, I'm going to talk about a house that was built by a mining investor. And so the house is in Aspen, Colorado. So if you don't know about Aspen, Aspen's kind of the hoity-toity. That's where all the rich people go to ski. Like me don't go there. So anywho, so the Pioneer Park is this place. And so the house is known as the Henry Weber House because he's the man that built it. So a little backstory here. Aspen was, a tiny little kind of mining town again, just kind of out in the middle of the mountains, not really much developed in that area until later. But Henry Weber built this house in the I keep saying the 1980s. Duh, Cailey, 1880s. So the house was built in the 1880s. And it was one of only a few homes that were actually in the city at the time. It wasn't really, like I said, it wasn't super developed yet. Henry Weber was a shoe merchant who got his wealth from mining investments during the silver boom in Colorado. In 1880, he married a woman named Harriet, and sadly, the marriage did not last very long. It only lasted about a year because she killed herself.
Oh.
And it's kind of a controversial, like, they ruled it an accident, but there were rumors going around that she killed herself, or that she was murdered because Henry, that little dog, was having an affair with her niece.
Oh, that's messed up.
He actually ends up marrying later.
Oh my god.
Like, not much later after she died, actually. But anyways... so it said that she overdosed on an over-the-counter tranquilizer, and it said that her last words were, "Henry will know."
What?
Creepy. So, like I said, this kind of led to rumors that she killed herself, or it was murder brought on by the affair between Henry and Harriet's niece, Julia. So, in the end, though, like I said, it was just ruled an accident. So here's the weird thing. Harriet is said to haunt the house. But guess what? They never lived there together.
Oh.
So I'm like, how is she the one haunting the house if she actually never lived there?
Because he lived there, right?
No. It was they hadn't built it yet. Like, neither one of them lived there when she died. But it's said that she's the one that haunts that house. And I think it's maybe she followed Henry.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
She shame him for the rest of his life.
Right.
Who knows? So, anywho, I forgot where I was. Yes, okay, so, kind of as with our last story, disaster came, with the repeal of the Sherman Silver Purchase Act, and Aspen's population decreased by thousands, and I mean almost 10,000 people.
Wow.
Like, they just were like, screw this, we're out. And so they kind of, like I said, people left, but Henry Weber and his wife stayed. And he actually ended up dying in 1911. And then a blacksmith and his family moved into the house. So the house, it was kind of said that the structures in Aspen at the time didn't really make it through much of the, since not many people were living there, they weren't really upkeeping. And if you know anything about the mountains, we have fires, we get really bad snowstorms, they just really didn't keep up the town because no one was really living there.
Mm-hmm.
But this house was like one of the one things that actually stayed and made it through. It was because the blacksmith lived there. So let's fast forward to 1944. A Chicago businessman named Walter Pepke. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm just going to call him Walter. So Walter moved in with his wife, and they are kind of known as being the founders of modern Aspen. So they're the ones that really helped redevelop Aspen and made it into what it is today. They're the ones that brought the ski resort there. And so, yeah, they just kind of really helped develop Aspen. I've actually never been to Aspen, believe it or not. One of the only, main Colorado cities that I've never actually been to. But I've heard that it's wonderful. So, they, like I said, they're the founders of modern Aspen. They saw Aspen's potential and developed a ski resort, and they really wanted Aspen to be known as kind of like a cultural center. They made some renovations to the house. They added on to it, actually quite a bit. They added quite a few buildings and stuff, and that's how the house stands today. So some of the reports about the house are, things moving, walking, all the normal ghost stuff. So basically what happened was Henry quickly moved on, like I said, after Harriet died, and that's when he married Julia, which is her niece. And like I said, Harriet didn't actually live in the house, but it is said that she haunts it. And I believe that she kind of wanted to follow Henry and Julia because she's wanting to shame them.
I bet that's what she did.
For the awful things that they do, or did. So it was said that Henry and Julia always kind of felt this, presence in the house, just kind of like a sad presence. And from, the very beginning. And then it would say, they said that they would hear footsteps on the roof and inside the home, and doors and windows would shut and open on their own. They also said that there was just kind of an overwhelming feeling of sadness. Some say that this was because they actually built the house on top of a cemetery.
Oh.
But others think that it's Harriet. Most people think it's Harriet.
Mm-hmm. I believe that too.
Yeah, most people think it's Harriet. So they found that a lot of their belongings would move or even really go missing. And so Julia actually kind of went into a little bit of a deep depression. And when I say a little bit, she was full on depressed, people. And she actually was said to have gone a little crazy, which seems to be kind of a theme here of miners' wives going crazy.
Mm-hmm. Hard life.
Yeah, real hard life. So she said that between the energy of the house and just being unable to get pregnant, she just kind of lost it. She would sit and stare out of windows on the upper part of the house. And rumors spread that she would talk to herself.
Oh.
I mean, I do that too. I guess I'm crazy. Like I said, I'm kind of crazy too. So I couldn't find anything necessarily about Julia dying, but I'm guessing it happens before Henry died. Just because people moved into the house right after Henry died.
Okay.
So it's just my inference that Julia died before Henry. And all of the other residents that lived in that house would say that they heard the same, like they had the same reports of walking, footsteps, doors and windows opening and then slamming shut, things going missing, just kind of a dark feeling of sadness, which means I'll never go to that house. I don't want that. I don't want that put on me. So anyways, that's the story of the Pioneer House or the Henry Weber House.
In Aspen,
Colorado.
Okay, go there.
Lovely
Can you
Aspen.
go there? Do you know?
Oh yeah, they do tours.
Okay, that's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
They do tours. So yeah, check it out, man. Seems to be, and it looks really cool. Like it's kind of a, I think that it's like one of the only houses in Aspen that has that style of design. Like the architecture. Why did I say that? Architecture. I just said the same thing. I don't know.
It's okay. Moving on.
It's been a long day, guys. So yeah, it's kind of a cool. It looks really cool. Like it just kind of looks really old. Like you can definitely tell that this was built, forever ago. So yeah,
That's cool.
that's it. So I think we're good. That's all we got, guys.
Yeah, I hope you liked today's episode, guys.
Yeah. So don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Please rate us, review us, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, but don't be mean, people. Be kind.
Yes.
Also, don't forget to send us your stories if you would like to be featured in a future. What am I doing with
It's
my
okay.
life today? I can't talk.
It's okay.
If you would like to be featured in a future episode, email us at goingmadpod@gmail.com. See you next week.
Bye.